Hello, everybody, and my name is Ryan Koki, and welcome to the Seahawk Recap Show, and welcome to the return of a little series I like to call News of the Week. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. It is Saturday. Right now, it's 11:36 a.m., and this video is going to come out at 3 p.m. today. So I just wanted to sit here and talk with you guys about news of the week. So let's get into it. Welcome to episode 20, preparing for free agency. We got a lot to talk about this week because it started off with a bang on Monday with this news right here. If you enjoy the content, please make sure to leave a like. And if you want to see any more future content from the channel, please remember to subscribe. But Jason Kelce officially retires from the NFL after 13 seasons. And man, what a career. I watched his retirement speech on Monday, and he got a little emotional, and so did I. And I was not expecting to get emotional. I was very choked up myself because I just realized that Jason Kelce retiring. He's one of the best centers in the National Football League to ever play the game. And first off, he's just an amazing human being. He's one of the funniest guys, I think, in the NFL. Just so many great moments from him, so many great pictures around the NFL of him being crazy. And he's got his own podcast, and you get to know him as a player. You get to know Travis Kelce as a player a little bit more, kind of behind the scenes, and you get to really know that side of the Kelce brothers. So to see Jason Kelce be that great on the field and off of the field is really great to see. He was a genuine competitor, and he is one of the best centers to ever play the game of football. Again, he's been doing this a very long time. 13 seasons in the National Football League is nothing to scoff at. And honestly, in his retirement speech, he was talking about, I wasn't always a great father, I wanna be a father now, I'm able to do that now, now that I'm retired. I'm able to hang out with my kids and my wife and everything. So, that's one of the reasons why he retired, and I think, honestly, if he didn't have a wife and kids, he would still be able to play, but he left it all out on the field, and now he gets to enjoy retirement, so that's really nice. I hope whatever happens in his life and wherever it takes him next, whether that be in the broadcast booth or just at home with his family. I wish him all the best in retirement because, man, he deserves it. He played at the highest level of competition for almost a decade and a half. It's just extraordinarily sad for everyone in the NFL, whether you're an Eagles fan or a Seahawks fan. Like, I'm a Seahawks fan, and I felt very sad to see Jason Kelce, one of the best centers, step away from the league on Monday. But hopefully he'll be back in the league in some capacity, maybe in the broadcast booth or something, or maybe he'll just be sitting there on the couch watching the games. We get to the next item on the list, and this one's a big one. Russell Wilson is released by the Denver Broncos. Well, I'm gonna say that I'm surprised, but I saw it coming. This seemed like a failed experiment from the start when he was traded to Denver almost 2 years ago that he was traded to Denver. And first off, let me just start off by saying, as a Seahawks fan, I really loved him in Seattle for the Seattle Seahawks, but man, seeing these last 2 years in Denver really hurts because even though he left the team of Seattle, just seeing him fall and become a shell of his former self was really hard to watch. And as a Seahawks fan, I got to tell you, he still had 2 years left on his contract when he left Seattle. I was super surprised that before even playing a snap for the Broncos, he had gotten a $242 million deal for 5 years. In my opinion, that deal should have never been signed until he had played his first year in Denver, because now, after Russell Wilson's release, the Broncos take on an NFL record $85 million in dead cap space. That is appalling, and that's why I started off saying it was a failed experiment from the start. You cannot expect a 35-year-old Russell Wilson to be a guy that you give $242 million to. That's not right. He should never have been given a new contract until he had played out the rest of the Seattle contract that he had left. They had time. They jumped the gun. They put all their eggs in one basket, and it turns out now that he's been released, and they have to deal with the consequences of their actions. To be honest, I don't think Russell Wilson played great in Denver by any means. That is not the Russell Wilson that I know from Seattle. I thought he was gonna be really good for Denver. I didn't expect him to fall off a cliff like he had in Denver, but considering all the things that he had to go through in his first 2 years there, I'm not at all surprised that he seemed like a shell of his former self. And the reason why I say all the things that he had to go through in Denver, remember, when he was traded to Denver, he had never played under another coach other than Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's system was a completely it is a completely different system. It is the old way of looking at things, and he did exceptional under that system. But he had first year head coach, new head coach Nathaniel Hackett. That didn't work out. He was released. And then they bring in, for the final year of the Seattle contract, they bring in Sean Payton. And Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, due to all the media coverage that was out there, due to all the debates and things in social media, you could tell that that relationship was not working with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, and therefore Russell Wilson gets released because of all the managerial decisions that were made. And it sucks to see, because I still think Russell Wilson is a starting QB, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for Russell Wilson, because it's going to be very interesting. Robert Griffin III, when he was doing a little segment on, I believe it was Get Up, he was still saying he's a top 20 starting QB in this league. And I honestly think that these last 2 years were a fluke, but I would caution people and say that he needs a good running game to be as effective. If you want him to be returning to the Russell Wilson form that he had in Seattle, give him a run game, and I hope whatever happens next for Russell Wilson, that he'll have a better time wherever he ends up, whether that's in the Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers, or whether that's in the New York Giants. I don't know, but I still think Russell Wilson has some energy left in that tank at 35 years old. We'll see what happens this offseason, because he is now a free agent. So he is probably a big free agent, considering he is a quarterback, and there are some teams that do need a quarterback, like the Steelers and the Giants. But I wish him all the best in the rest of Russell Wilson's career. He will forever be a Seahawk in my heart. But let's get to the next topic, and it's franchise tag roulette. I called it franchise tag roulette because, looking at this week, we saw a massive, massive wave throughout the week of players getting franchise tagged. One of those players is Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. He gets franchise tagged. He is making $21.82 million for 1 year. That's decent from him. He'll need to get a contract extension done. At the moment, he has no contract extension, but we'll see what happens. The Indianapolis Colts make their franchise tag, and it's Michael Pittman Jr., another wide receiver, making $21.82 million for 1 year. A good pickup for them. They're having some fun with it, and a lot of teams are getting their wide receivers and things on the board here. Next up, we got the Buccaneers. Anton Winfield Jr., safety, $17.12 million for 1 year. He's on that franchise tag, the Buccaneers. The Jaguars, Josh Allen, put on the franchise tag. Good choice for him. Linebacker, $24 million flat 1 year. And the Bears, Jalen Johnson, would have been on the franchise tag because they had franchise tagged him, and it would have been $19.8 million for 1 year, but he did end up getting an extension, which I will get to. The Chiefs place Ladarius Sneed, cornerback, $19.8 million for 1 year on the franchise tag. Very good. I hope he gets an extension if I'm a Chiefs fan, because him and Trent McDuffie took you guys to a Super Bowl. So I'm expecting L'Jarius Sneed to get a long-term extension done. That's one of my priorities if I was Chiefs GM. But the Panthers take Brian Burns, D end, $21.32 million for 1 year. He's put on the franchise tag. Knew that was going to happen. Brian Burns has been on the Panthers, drafted by the Panthers, and he's done very well for himself. He's a good solid player. And he's sticking with the Panthers. I hope they get a long-term extension done with him if he decides to stay. And the Ravens franchise tag DT Justin Mbuke, $22 million for 1 year, but he also got a contract extension. So, just like I said, Justin Buque agreed to a $98 million deal for 4 years, and that is a slam dunk. People were saying when online and everything, and I know it's online, so you take those comments with a grain of salt, but people were saying overpay, overpay, overpay. Did you not watch NFL football this year? That Ravens defense was something else, leading the league in sacks. I believe he had 13 to his name alone. So this is a very, very good player, Justin Mbuke. And, the Seahawks would have liked to pick him up. I would have liked to pick him up if he was in free agency, but man, he gets to sign with the Ravens and he gets paid handsomely for his services. Good for Justin Mbuke. And the Bears are signing cornerback Jalen Johnson. He has agreed to a $76 million deal for 4 years. And that's a very good, solid deal because he is their top corner. And, I like Jalen Johnson. He genuinely holds that secondary for the Bears together. And that's one of your franchise cornerstones in Jalen Johnson, locked up long term. So that's great to see. And we'll see what happens in free agency because those are two big pieces taken off the board. So nice job from the Bears and good job from the Ravens on both of those deals. I can see those deals working out pretty well from a organization and player perspective. The final thing I wanted to talk about is the 2024 free agent market. And oh my, the amount of players that were released this week in preparation for shedding salary cap for some of these teams was just immense. And let me start off by saying that this free agency market is packed to the brim with star players. I cannot mention every player that is in free agency that is a star player, but I'm looking at guys like Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins. I'm looking at those two DTs as top candidates for anybody that needs pass rush. Seattle. But I'm also looking at people like Derrick Henry, who's a big free agent name. Running back is super durable, is one of the best running backs in the league. And I'm also looking at Baker Mayfield, Patrick Queen, Xavier McKinney, and so many others. If you are looking for defensive free agents, this has got to be one of the best free agent classes for you as a team because there are so many free agent safeties, D linemen, and linebacker options for teams to build around. And, just some of the names that I mentioned there. There's Patrick Queen, there's Buda Baker on the linebacker side, there's Jordan Brooks on the linebacker side that could be heading to free agency. Chris Jones has been a dominant DT for the majority of his career, and those guys are just insane. You got safeties like Jordan Poyer, you've got safeties like Micah Hyde, Xavier McKinney, Cameron Curl, Geo Stone, for example, those guys. But if you're looking for offense on the offensive side of the ball, NFL teams have plenty of good options on that side of the ball as well when it comes to free agents. In my opinion, we have one of the deepest running back free agent markets here in 2024. So if your favorite team is looking for a running back, they have so many options to choose from. Just to name a few: Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, and Saquon Barkley. Those are some top talents in that running back free agency market. You've also got quarterback. You got Kirk Cousins, who before his injury could have had a really, really good season. You've got also Baker Mayfield, who just took the Buccaneers, beat the Eagles, and took his team to the divisional round of the playoffs. That's no small feat. So he'll probably get a good have a good time in free agency for some of these quarterback needy teams. I can't wait for free agency to start next week because I want to see where some of these star players end up by the start of the 2024-2025 season. It should be an exciting time. And one more thing here I want to take a look at is the cap space situation for these teams. Washington, Buffalo, Tennessee, New England, Chicago, Houston, Detroit, Seahawks, Bengals, all these teams, all these big teams here. I'm going to go through this list, but look at all the cap space that people are making. There are some big names in free agency where you can go in, especially as a Washington Commanders team that is basically stripping bone dry, and go in and look at all these free agent classes and go, okay, we want players to come here. We have a new regime in the Washington Commanders. This is new management and everything. We'll build ourselves up through free agency, and then not to mention the draft, who has some pretty pretty talented guys in that draft. But all in all, that is it for news of the week, episode number 20. And yeah, March 13th is going to be insane. I cannot wait because it's just going to be fun to try and recap all the free agents that have been signed to different teams. It's going to be a heck of a time. But, anyways, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Go Hawks, go! And let's see how free agency shakes out. Take care.